Hey everyone, and welcome back to Indicted TV. I'm your host, Negra. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and follow us on Instagram. Before we start, you already know I gotta give a shout out to my sponsors, Royalty Honey. Keep it hard, guys, and also for the best jewelry for His glory. And if you want to get the most fire is fire, Cali Plug. And if you want to get a tattoo, Untouchables Tattoo. On today's episode, we have Angel.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Welcome to Indicted TV.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Super excited to hear your story, to hear what you're going to share. So tell us, Angel, tell us where you're from, where you grew up, mom, dad, brothers, inside of your house growing up.
So I was born in the Philippines, left there when I was 2. I don't have a lot of memories about the Philippines. My mom was actually in the U.S. Army, so we moved to Germany. We were stationed in Germany.
At 2 years old, you moved to Germany?
At 2 years old.
Oh,
wow. And I don't have a lot of memories from Germany either. I just remember there was snow. And then from there, we were, my older brother and I, we were sent to Vallejo, California.
Uh-huh.
And my dad went through a series of jobs while my mom was in the Army. And then later on, he joined the Navy. So me and my older brother, we lived with some relatives,
Okay, so basically you guys were with relatives. Your dad was with you guys while your mom was, you said in the Marines?
And in the Army.
In the Army, sorry, in the Army. And then it was probably getting too hard and your dad was like, yo, I got to join the Navy or something,
That's
right?
right. And to apply for citizenship.
Okay.
So both parents were, my dad was in the Navy on a ship. He was out at sea doing his training.
Oh, wow.
And then he was, he was on a warship. And then my mom was still in the Army. So there was a period in my life where there was like some inconsistencies where, we were living with relatives, but we didn't know them prior per se because we were still young, so there was no bond there. And they also had kids, So I grew up feeling in the shadow of my older brother. He was just very, even at a young age, 4, 5, 6, he was always outgoing. I think something happens to you where you don't learn how to communicate, or you don't have that attachment, that bond. So it was hard for me to, articulate what it is I'm feeling or wanting to say at that age. But I was in my brother's shadow, and which I loved because he was like, he's always made me laugh, and he was there with me every step of the way.
He didn't leave you alone. He knew. He knew that feeling that you were feeling because he was feeling it as well.
He did. And he carried it for the both of us.
Like the loneliness of maybe not loneliness, but maybe loneliness, right?
Yeah.
Of not having your parents, even though at the moment we're not thinking like, hey, our parents are gone because they're trying to do better.
Not at the time, but later on I was able to do that after reflecting, after having my own kids.
Got it.
So so we went through a period where my dad would come back while he was on leave. I don't know. I don't remember the time frame. Maybe it's weeks that he's back, or maybe just a week. And I think that was the first time where my grandma lived there too. And she was Catholic, super Catholic. And
I'm done with the Catholics.
She would tell me to pray, and I would pray. And, it just so happens when I prayed, he would come back on leave. So I related that with each other, and then it came to a point where I would pray and he wouldn't come back. And then when he would come back, I just was just like not engaged. I was like, you're going to leave again.
Yeah, you were just protecting your own feelings at the end of the day.
Not that I knew
that
exactly. I was doing, but that's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And then my mom came back. She was received an honorable discharge from the Army. And so now my mom comes back and we're living with my mom. And she's been in the Army, she was in the Army and she was doing her thing. Like, I didn't feel the connection.
She didn't have like, well, you know how they always say like military people are so like, yes. Like they're not emotional. Like they don't like, well, I don't know. I don't have, my parents are not like that, but it's just like a saying, like a thing, right? It's like a thing and it's true. You're obviously telling me about it.
And they were young too. So I understand, like, we grew up together, So I didn't feel like my mom was I felt my mom was really close to my older brother. That's how I grew up.
Okay.
So I became this black sheep of the family, always acted out. But, when I look back, I don't know what came first. Was I bad first? Or, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's chicken or the egg theory. And but as I'm older now, we're good. I've had a chance to tell them, my piece as an adult, having kids, relating it, and my understanding of why it turned out the way it did. But there was a road. I'm in my 40s, and it took this long to look back. And
hey, but it's not even that long.
Yeah.
We're just starting real life.
That is true. Like every day seems to go by quicker.
I do feel like 40, like once you hit like 35 and up, now we're living.
Yeah, I agree.
Now this is real life. Not that it wasn't real life, but this is, everything's up to us now.
Yeah.
Like our life is going to be the way we want it. And we're grown. We're not kids. 20s, I don't care. From 20 to 28, you're a kid, bro.
Yeah, you are.
You know what you're doing and stuff like that, but it's like you're not taking life serious. That's what I think, at least.
Right.
Not everybody, guys. Don't come for me. So back to your mom's back. You don't know if you're acting. Well, you're already acting now, which was around how old were you?
6, 7. Like I remember being naughty, like doing naughty things, but they were also silly things,
Like what?
Like, say, for example, I remember that cartoons came on at a certain time. It's like my life is comedic for some reason. I remember cartoons came on at a certain time. So one day, my mom, I saw her running around the house, but what I did was I actually thought if I moved the clocks on the hands on the clock, that my cartoons would come on quicker.
Oh my God.
So she probably saw the clock and she's running back and forth, getting ready. She takes off and she comes back and she was like, "Did you change the clock?" And I'm like, "No." Like I kept lying. Yeah, I know what I did. But silly things like that, they're mischievous, but not hurting anybody.
Of course. Yeah. You're being a kid at the end of the day.
Yes.
That's like kid stuff. You're not hurting anybody. You're trying to see, like, you don't know what's happening. You thought in your head, like, hey, it's going to come on faster. Like, that is,
right.
You're just, you're playing around.
Yeah. But in the military, you move I think it's every 3 to 4 years.
Okay.
And so we went from, Northern Cali to Arizona to Florida, back to Cali, just all over the place. We were always moving.
So you weren't stable. You weren't happy.
No. Always a new person at school, so like the communication was weird. Like I grew up, till this day, I talk to myself. I crack myself up. I love being in traffic. Like it's a one-man party,
But you're not alone, bro.
Yeah.
I literally talk to myself like all day. Now, if you answer yourself all crazy,
I've done it.
Now, like, like, hey, we're going to do this, but no, we're going to do this. Then that's kind of getting a little creepy.
Yeah. I crack myself up.
But I get it, I think we all do it. It's okay, So you're back and forth. At what age did you actually start to get into trouble?
Okay, so I remember when we were living in Florida. It was probably my 5th grade year. And they would give us these cards. It would be a piece of a ticket, and that would tell everybody you're on reduced lunch. Like maybe you can't pay for a whole lunch. I don't remember what it was, but it was to tell everybody that you're not the same. So I remember feeling like I don't want to eat because of this.
Aww.
Because I have to give the card in front of everybody. And I met this other guy who was pretty rough and, we were little kids. I remember being in 5th grade. He'd be at the 7-Eleven, but he would smoke, Marlboro Reds. And
dang.
And I was just like, hey, let me try that.
Oh, dang.
We were both in 5th grade, And then one day he was just like, showed me how to steal lunch. Like to blend in with everybody and like, just take your lunch and just keep walking. And then one day the lady, she caught me and I didn't know what to do. It was like, well, yeah.
I'm hungry.
I took it and she's like, you don't have money? I was, well, I have this, I have this ticket, but, to me, I felt like I was already different from everybody else. I felt, ashamed. So from there, I feel like I started doing naughty things, having naughty thoughts. Let me see what I can get away with, start stealing stuff from the 7-Eleven. My mom caught me one time stealing some candy and we got to the car and she was like, go return it, go bring it back. It's like, oh, so I brought it back. I don't remember what I said, but I remember the feeling. It was like a push and pull. Like,
Like I want it,
I
but
want to do it. It feels good to be naughty, but also I know it's not right, you know? So that's when it actually started. And then in the end of my 5th grade year, we moved to Long Beach.
is that where you've been ever since?
Ever since.
Okay.
We went to Long Beach. I finished months of my 5th grade year at elementary school, Hudson Elementary. We lived in the Navy base. Most of the places we lived were Navy bases. And it reminds me of a lot like projects, because you got different people from all over. So people that lived on the base, their kids that were our age, we ended up being friends, just different nationalities,
I always thought that like if you live in in the base, you're like kind of cooler. That you're a little bit more well off. That's what I thought. Maybe this is just me not knowing, not being aware of like,
Well, I remember when we moved
You
into
get what
the
I'm
Long
saying?
Beach Navy base, our neighbors, it wasn't even, we were just moving in. And I remember they had 2 kids, maybe my brothers and my age, older brother. And as we were passing the window, they were mocking us, they said something like, Kmart shopper. I forget what they said, but they were mocking us. And I experienced racism in Florida, but I didn't really understand because we're from a military background. Like, I didn't understand what was going on.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, I thought it was like, oh, they're carry themselves better. Like they think they're better.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess not.
But outside of the military base,
Yeah.
I remember there was this girl that I had a crush on in elementary, and went to her house, and I remember the dad saying, "Don't play with him," and he made fun of my eyes. He made like,
oh my God.
But I didn't know, I didn't know what was going on at the time, and she told
They're
me
not even that crazy.
well, I mean, but it was Florida. It was Florida, and predominantly there was none of us, So he made like the slanted eyes gesture.
That is terrible. Ours are kind of the same.
Yeah, but she came and she told me she was very sweet, and she was
Aw.
like, "My dad doesn't want us to play together," and I didn't know how to accept that. Like, I didn't know what was happening, but I felt rejected. So it was a pattern of feeling like rejected,
Mhm.
not being wanted around, or like,
Yeah.
in the household and out of the household.
That sucks.
Yeah.
That is obviously a horrible way to feel, especially at a young age, when you're supposed to feel the most love and caring and affection and just everything all the way
Right.
around. Like,
Right. There was I didn't feel safe. There was none of that. So from the elementary school that I went there for a couple months, hidden in the shadows. Nobody knew me, except for the people that I made friends with on the base. But it wasn't long. Maybe it was like 3 months, or I wasn't even in the yearbook.
okay.
The
Yeah,
fifth
because
grade
usually
yearbook.
pictures are in the beginning.
Mm-hmm. And then so that summer we got to meet more people, and breakdancing was in at the time. The people on the military base, they've been there a while. Maybe they're going on their 3rd year or whenever they're supposed to move, and they were just cool people. They had a rec center there. A rec center. Was it a rec center or a rec center? But anyway,
The rec center, I'm assuming, right?
people, yeah. Well, they just watch you. They had video games. They played loud music. And that was the first time we were exposed to that. Like, oh, this is kind of fun,
Nice.
So we had friends who were already in the breakdance scene. I think we called them Housers back then, though, So we started doing that. And it was great. It was fun. It was fun to us. And, after the summer, we're going to middle school now.
Okay.
Middle school's a couple blocks away. We're taking the bus or we're walking. Now you're exposed to all these other different neighborhoods that you're passing through,
Mhm.
and that's where we started to get in trouble. We were part of a dance group, and then it was just the 90s. It was wild I don't know why. I don't know why it was wild, but
90s were wild.
it just,
Filipinos are great dancers.
yeah. Yeah. So we were part of a dance group, and then gang tagging and then gang banging came into play,
Ah.
and it was about numbers, and it was about, people were getting bullied, or you're a dance group, but then you got to defend your group too,
Of course.
like we're all friends, and next thing you know, we're a dance group going against a gang. Like, no, like, what I mean?
Oh, dang.
Yeah. So it was pretty dangerous times in middle school. Like I said, there was comedic times. Like, it's serious. It was like very serious when I look back at it, but also I didn't know what was going on. One time we were at the bus stop after, and this is in middle school, mind you. We're at the bus stop, just getting back, and a van pulls up. A neighborhood, a different neighborhood around the same area. A van pulls up, and the door slides open, and he hits everybody up. In the middle of that, they just start shooting. So we run, and we're close to the Navy base, so we're jumping walls and everything like that. And I think I thought I got hit. Everybody thought I got hit because there was some blood on my shirt, right? And I felt some pain. But you know what it was? It was a rock. I landed on a rock and it...
When you fell?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. That's scary.
It's scary, but...
Now you go back, you're just like, I get it.
Yeah. So that all ties in at the end, like all these experiences that we've had. But so that's how middle school was, the dances, like the puberty stage, like, oh man, like...
Puberty stage is like, you're a mess.
You are. But when you look back, it's kind of funny. Like, what were you doing? What were you doing? But it was also a great time. Those 90s it was a great time. Like, you can't compare that.
No. Not at all.
So yeah, that was middle school for us. Like towards the end of middle school, I would see these guys hanging out at the park, and it ended up being the neighborhood I was, I got jumped into. So I would see them, they wouldn't pressure me or anything like that. They were
nice.
They were minding their own, and they also had like a couple of our friends who are already older had already migrated over there, and they're hanging out there now, and they'll call you over, and now you're meeting all these people, and they were cool. And then I think it was the summer right before going into high school. There was a couple parties that we were invited to.
This is like 94.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they would get shot up, or, back then they would have the chopper come and you'd be on the news, and I thought it was all exciting,
I mean, it was.
Yeah, it was exciting. And my parents would have to come pick us up, and, I think they were just too busy to, they were just too busy. Everybody during that time, your parents worked. That's why now we're super involved with our kids, because we know what kind of trouble. Now you put them in sports and do all these things so they're not in the street, which is a great idea. Talk to them more. Now you can tell them to, talk about their feelings and that type of stuff. Mm-hmm. So there's that connection there. So we learn from the generation before.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So we would go to these parties, and it was just that time, like it was crazy about girls,
So you had a lot of girlfriends.
I don't consider them girlfriends until you ask them out.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you know what? I agree. I love that you said that, because nowadays, or even before, all the time, like just because like things are happening doesn't mean you're not my boyfriend, bro.
Yes, but when I'm in a relationship and I ask you or you ask me, super loyal.
Yeah, you're gonna be my girlfriend?
So yeah, super loyal. You want to be my sad girl? Yeah.
You say you want to be your sad girl?
Yeah. Back then, I was going by SadBoy,
Oh, that was your name before?
That was my nickname before.
Oh, I mean, I guess it kind of went with you. You were a sad boy?
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe.
Growing up, those whole, like everything you said did take you to you being a sad boy. You want to be my sad girl? That's cute.
Yeah, that's funny.
No, I mean, it's, something to go back and look at and think about. Like, what you just said, I thought that was super cute,
Yeah.
So there was girls, and you were still partying. And so what happened?
So I was at this party, and, I guess there was another party going on nearby, and it was a rival. And, stuff happened in the front yard, and there was a shootout. And I remember standing there. My brother was there too. My older brother was there. And I remember standing there thinking like, wow, like I was looking at my older friends like, I want to do that. I don't know why, but I was like, it was exciting to me. Like, I want to do that. I want to try that. And then I just had these thoughts, like my dad was in the military. He had a weapon, and I knew where it was, even though it had a lock on it. And I would stand in front of the mirror and I would practice my look. I would practice my aim, and I wasn't even from the neighborhood yet, and I would
Claim
say
it.
it in front of the mirror,
Mirror.
you know, just to see what I look like. And I think it was like I wanted to belong to something, you know.
Mhm.
And I always say that is because like I could have grew up in any other city, anywhere else, and I probably would have done the same thing because that's what I was looking for, you know.
I know what you mean.
Um, and like I said, my brother I was always in his shadow, so it was like
So your brother was part of it as well.
he'd hang out, but he never got courted on,
Got it.
you know. But by the time I got courted on, you know, it was natural for me to be friends with his friends' brothers, you
Got
know,
it.
and all the younger generation, we were the ones who
Put 'em on.
decided to go, you know, gangbang. But there was a point where my older brother didn't want that for himself, you know, and he got a job. He was doing good,
Good.
you know, but he was still down, you know.
Yeah.
He was still down, and he would hang out, and you know, he got into the same mess, you know.
He
but
just wasn't part of the gang.
he just wasn't. But he hung out, and you know, he was noticed as the same anyway.
Yeah.
You know. But he tried to do good. He had a job. He was dressing fly and like, you know, going out with different girls. Like, it's like, oh man, what did I do here? Like, hey, I caught up. Now I got to go hang out with some dudes. Like, you know.
Yeah.
So from there, it was like it just became this persona. Like early high school, it was during a break. You know, I was bored. You know, I was bored, and we were living with one of our relatives at their house in Anaheim. And one day I was just like, "Hey man, I want to get put on. Just go ahead and do it already. Come, you know,
Come scoop me up."
Yeah, just come scoop me up because I was already hanging out. We were already doing knucklehead stuff. So I was like, I have fun with these guys. I trust these guys at the time, and I wanted to belong. So that's what I did. They came, picked me up, went to a park nearby, got jumped in, and I just remember like I wanted more. Like, you know, like they jumped me, no more. You know, let's go some more. You know, I think it was just something in me. I don't know. Maybe it was something I needed to release, but I couldn't see it then. You know, I didn't know what it was. But I remember it was just like, okay, just faded out. They jumped me 3 times, and there was like,
Damn.
you know,
Damn.
like, let's go, let's do it again. But from there, it just became like a persona, you know. Started hanging out. I didn't drive, so usually the older homies that would, you know, they would come and pick me up. And my neighborhood's it's a mixed neighborhood.
Okay.
You know, all different nationalities. It started off as a Guamanian gang, a Chamorro gang, the Long Beach Islanders, and then, you know, Filipinos, and then Hawaiians, and there was whites, blacks, Mexicans. But you know, we had every race, and at one point they were being sponsored, you know, to have the 13 behind the name.
Okay.
But you know, the issue with that is we're mixed. You know,
Yeah.
we're mixed. At one point, some of us claim blue. I mean, we're kids. You know, there was no structure. Everybody was just running amok. The big homies were locked up, so there was nobody saying, hey, you know, there was no politics. It was just everybody was just running amok.
Having a great time.
Yeah, that's what we thought.
Well, that's what I'm
you
saying.
know, yeah.
I mean, at the moment you were living your best life. Like when people,
I actually was.
When people say, "Oh, you know, you lived your life a certain way," I lived the life I wanted, and I lived it at my best.
Mm-hmm.
Now, would I do it the same now? Definitely not. Yeah. I'm living my best life now,
right.
But then I was my best life too.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
like
what made you who you are now. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, you were living your best life, and yes, it wasn't the right way, but I mean, that's what worked for you at the moment.
It did. I would date like Hispanic girls.
You know, still date is your girl Hispanic?
She's actually Chamorro. She's a Chamorrita. She's a Guamanian girl. You know, like Spanish, Mexican. You know, for some reason I always felt drawn closer, and they were feeling me. So I was like, you know, it was what it was. Mm. You know, I had a long-term. This was early high school. I had a long-term girlfriend. She was Hispanic, and you know, I think at that time everything was good until it turned toxic. you know, and like we didn't have the tools to communicate and stuff like that. And I was mean, you know, I was mean to her. I dabbled in drugs, but I'm not saying that was the reason why.
Mm-hmm.
But there was times where I got physical. Well, she got physical too, but not to say
It's not okay. No, I understand.
Yeah. So it was one of those things. And as an adult, like I reached out to her, like I found her, you know, and we talked. And you know, I had the moment to say, hey, look, like
I'm sorry.
Not only was I sorry because I was terribly sorry. Like when I was gone, I thought about all the people that I wronged, but I was terribly sorry because didn't even have to go there. You know, we could have just communicated, which we didn't know how, and just called it what it was. You know what I mean? But we have both found faith, so it's easier to talk, and it was easier for me to apologize because it was sincere. Like, you know, it was the era, like, you know, you watch these music videos from back in the day and it's like the stronghold, the gangster pimp smacking the girl, like, and they're just like, haha, you know, they like it. And it's like, they love that toxic stuff and they keep coming back.
I don't know about
the perception. Yeah.
I get it. I'm talking poop.
And it was something that like, I'm not proud of ever doing, but I'll admit it because it was wrong. Like it's super hard to even admit that I did something like that.
That's how you know you've grown, though.
I have a daughter, like, you know what I mean? Like, but I felt it even before I had a daughter. I felt it wasn't right even then, you know? And like I said, it's not because of the drugs, because I did dabble in drugs, but you always have a choice, you know, because after you come down, you think about it, I was like, ooh,
well, I'm a dumbass.
What did I do? And then you repeat the pattern again.
Yeah.
So like I said, we've talked and we're good. Like, we're good. I got to say my piece and not close a chapter, but you know, there's an understanding there that I am sorry. Like, you know,
and you were younger at the end of the day. Like, you're not that person anymore.
No.
And we've grown and she's grown and you guys both have your separate lives and it is what it is at this point now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
As long as you both said you know.
But you don't know what you do. You don't know the effects you can have on somebody else's life. You know, by your decision, their whole trajectory could, you know, mess them up.
Yeah, until they're able to like get themselves together and accept their faults as well. It's not always just one person.
You know what? And that's what we did. We talked about what we did wrong and just openly you know, I asked for your forgiveness. We forgave each other. And that's the best that we could do over something that's already happened,
like,
you know?
Exactly. You were kids.
Yeah, we were kids.
You know?
So that was a big part of like I said, she was Hispanic. So naturally, like, I was around a lot of Hispanics, you know? Like I said, my neighborhood's mixed. I'm Filipino, Hawaiian, Portuguese, you know? So it's like, we were accepted, you know? LA County and Orange County is a little bit different. During the time, there was like the whole green light phase. And I was getting a lot of love from Orange County, you know, cholos, you know, like, it was just a different time. And it didn't make sense to me because I grew up in the military housings and like I didn't understand the segregation, but we did it anyway.
Yeah.
You know, and then so from there, you know, I mean, we got into crazy stuff. Like there was a.
Did you ever go to Juvenile, huh?
I did my time all in one stretch.
Oh, okay.
So, but it was progressing. It was leading up to it.
You just kept doing bad, worse, and worse.
We were getting caught up in situations, you know,
yeah.
like months before. So I ended up in continuation school, right?
Okay.
So throughout high school, I'd get kicked out. Same stuff, fighting, you know, same stuff until we got kicked out of the district. And I went to this one school in Long Beach, Milliken. Literally 0 period. I just got my schedule and getting kicked out. So we had to leave the district and I ended up in Los Alamitos, small city. But the school was a great school. They had a performing arts where all these famous kids would go. And but academically, I was so far behind. It's like I couldn't understand anything. I didn't know about getting help, getting a tutor. I felt embarrassed. Like I told you, remember, I felt embarrassed with having that ticket to pay for lunch. I felt the same thing. Like I didn't know how to ask for help, but I wanted it. I wanted to understand, and I wanted to get good grades.
But it was just, you were just too far back.
I was too far back. Like I would just sit in class and doodle all day, writing the neighborhood. Like
I know what you mean.
yeah, until I ended up in continuation school. And then from there it's like, okay, well, everybody's just like me here.
It was okay.
It was okay. Yeah. It was at your own pace. And my brother ended up there too. It was at your own pace. And there were other guys from different neighborhoods there. And, we're there. There's no issues. And next thing you know, we're all just hanging out together.
At school.
At school and sometimes out of school. So one day, like I said, it progressed. And we spent the day at Universal City Walk. Just bunch of guys looking for girls. That's what it was, right? And then on the way back, one of our friends from a different neighborhood, got a phone call or got a page, pulled over, random city to use the phone. And it's like a movie. He went to use the phone. A couple of us went to go use the restroom. And I saw from the corner of my eye other cars, but they pulled into the gas station. Here we go. There's like loads of cars. And it's just us. So it turns into this confrontation where we're trying to stay close to the car. And we end up getting carjacked.
Oh, wow.
It was a scuffle. It was five of us in that car and just fighting with all these dudes. And I remember the driver was saying, get in the car. I jumped in the back of the car. A girl jumps in the front seat. Some other guy jumped. I'm in the back seat. So now I got to fight my way out of this car. And I'm getting pulled out of the rear passenger. It was just crazy. It's like there's so many times we shouldn't be here, and the driver ended up getting stabbed multiple times.
Oh, wow.
We end up, so gangster, right? We end up calling the police for help.
Oh, dang.
So we needed an ambulance, so the cops come.
Well, for the friend that got stabbed.
Yeah, but the police were the ones who came first. And they're like, do you know where you're at? And like, no. They were just a bunch of kids. And they literally left. Like, that's my perception of it. Because I don't remember anything else. That they just left.
Oh, wow.
So we had some other people pick us up. Took him straight to the hospital. After that, he was fine. And then we went to party again.
Like nothing.
I mean, he had all these holes. And it was like bragging rights for him.
Yeah.
We went back to his neighborhood. And it was like, he was showing everybody. It was like, okay, so remember we were drinking 40s back then.
Yeah.
Those type of things. And like, the sun's already coming up, like
Dang.
Those wild days.
Yeah.
But it progressed.
So tell me, what led you to your incarceration? You were already over 18?
No. Okay. So, again, I had a group of friends that were in the continuation school, and we went to a little barbecue kickback at Miles Square Park, right? It turned out to be a gang meeting for one of them, one of their neighborhoods, right? And they've been having some issues with one of their rivals. And I've hung out with these guys before, and we were knuckleheads. We were you do what gangsters do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they were down with us, and we were down with them. Not that we were clicked up or anything, but when you're there, you participate. Yeah. And and that's what happened. So they told him he had to go do something. He fell under a structure. They told him he needed to do something, and not everybody knew that was there for the ride, and everybody else just got caught up.
Got it. You knew?
Did I what?
Did you know? You were just there for the ride.
100% being honest, like
everybody knows.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's already done, but it wasn't that way. Like if I knew, I probably wouldn't have. It's not my beef, you know what I mean, to get caught up like that. But what actually ended up happening was they had a car too that came to go follow to make sure it was done. Mm-hmm. And who knows, but that car was the one who got stopped and gave everybody else up.
Oh, wow.
And then so in the police report, I had a public defender, and it shows they try to black everything out, but it says in the police report that we pulled over, and I got out of the car and got all the guns from the back. That's what it said. Like, whoa, like, what are they trying to do?
They basically lied.
Yeah. So that car everybody in that car gets arrested first.
Mm-hmm.
We go back and
You do your thing.
we're doing our thing. So when my good friend, his mom calls super early in the morning, and my aunt answers the phone and she gives it to me, and she was like, "Hey, they just came to our house. They took him. I need to know what happened." And I was like, I felt like she was trying to set me up, right? So I was like, I don't know what happened. I wasn't with them. I don't know what happened. And then later on, my name came out in the paper. They were looking for me. And my mom was pregnant. At the time, my mom was pregnant. And there was other issues, like my life had spiraled, like I think before that we had, there was a couple funerals. And it's not actually, and I went through this thing. It's like, it's not what you do for the neighborhood, it's what you don't do for the neighborhood, right? And it ties into politics. And I learned that the hard way. I was put in a situation where I lived where there was a confrontation, and an older homie gave me the pistol, right? Older homie gave me the pistol and said, you do it. You haven't done time before, but that's what I heard, slow everything down, and I was like, yeah, no, like I've been doing what I wanted to do. Then all of a sudden, so my perception was, I wasn't going to do it just because you asked, like a bratty kid, like, I don't want to perform, that type of deal. So I didn't. So it put me in bad standings with the older homies. But my group was like, nah, this is what happened. So those type of things had me second guessing, like, what am I doing? Like I'm making friends with different people. I'm approachable. Like, I don't really have issues. And if I do, it's settled one-on-one. And then it's cool again. Like,
yeah.
I've never had an issue to where it couldn't be cool, like I've duked it up many times with people.
I feel like before, back in the days, it was okay. Like, we just get down and we'll be cool again.
Yeah. I mean,
like, it's okay to get down with your friend, bro. It's going to be all right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, these were like supposedly rivals and enemies, but it's just a sign of respect, like, okay, well, we did that.
So when did it happen? Did you end up getting arrested for?
So what happened was everybody else was getting arrested, and I was the last one, and my name came out in the paper. And like I said, I felt like everything was closing in. My mom was pregnant with my sister at the time, and I don't know, I just had this feeling like, yeah, man, I've done a lot.
Like, what is it for?
I've done a lot of bad things already, but something in me was just like, hey, just face the music, man. Like, what's going to happen? You're guilty, so I didn't want them to raid the house the same way. So I ended up turning myself in, and I only told 2 people. I didn't tell my brother. I didn't tell, nobody in my family. At the time, I told my best friend who took me, and a girl that I was seeing at the time, like, hey, I did this. I wasn't even truthful. I just gave him parts of it, and I need to turn myself in. So the next day, I turned myself in. But on the way there, I was having second thoughts.
I mean, duh, I would have too.
Yeah. So as soon as I got in there, though, I pushed the button and said that, my name came out in the paper. It was in Orange County. My name came out in the paper. They actually said my name back to me. And I was like, yeah. So they came out, cuffed me up, took me to the back,
And this was your first time actually ever getting cuffed?
No, doing time. Not getting cuffed. But a lot of times they've
just cuffed you and let you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let me go. So I was still, at the time I was 17. Just had turned 17. And so as soon as we get in there, they were like, oh, 3 people got killed. I was like, oh, damn it. What did I do? Like, why am I turning myself in? But that wasn't the case. That didn't happen that way. And then I tried to lawyer up real quick. I was like, hey, I'm a minor. Like, I'm not going to say anything. I need a lawyer. But they didn't really ask much questions. But there was some physical abuse there. while they were asking me questions.
By the cops.
Yeah.
Okay.
By the cops. Like, not full on swinging on me, but knocking my elbow off the table so my face would hit the table. Like that type of stuff,
Oh.
Yeah, no, it was weird, but it was almost expected. It's like bragging rights. That's how I saw it back then. So they booked me and they sent me to a place. I think it was called the Annex. I'm not sure, but it was for juveniles who were going to be sentenced as adults.
Okay.
So what I didn't know was everybody else in the other car, they started taking plea bargains already. Plea deals.
Yeah,
already.
right away.
Yeah, they already had convictions.
How long were they going to court before you turned yourself in?
I don't even the time frame. I don't really recall.
Because that's kind of crazy. Like you took your first deal in your first freaking court. Like first court, they don't even have deals.
Them, yes. The other car, yeah, they were just jumping at deals. They were jumping at deals. So the car I was in was the active car.
Yeah.
So they take me to this place called the Annex, and I remember going in, and it was late by the time they processed me. As soon as I come in, there's, you hear all these stories about juvenile hall, and I have friends who've been in and out of the system, but don't really talk about politics. So as soon as I get in there, I'm hearing all this shouting at the doors, where you from, this and that type of stuff, and I was just like, I'm tired. Like, I'm not trying to do this right now. I'm just tired. I just want to go to sleep first. And I remember some guy was just yelling from the bottom tier, saying my cell number, and he's like, "Where are you from?" So I told him, like, man, it's like, I'm not trying to hear this right now. It was like, it's my first night. Let me get back to you tomorrow. But he just kept banging on me. This is,
wherever he was from.
He was just banging on me. So I was just like, okay. For just so happens, first unlock, I was the first one to be able to take a shower because I came in late. I don't know. Maybe I just thought it was coincidence. So I take a shower and I come out and I noticed the guy, his cell is about to be open because they're calling him for the shower next. So they pop his cell open and I go, "Hey, so you were talking all that stuff to me?" And he was just like, he just froze. Then I had like neighborhood tattoos all over me at that age, and he just froze, but he didn't want an issue. Like, I'm not the bully type. So I wasn't gonna, he's kind of like, nah, like, so I just left it alone. I'm not the bully type. So, okay. So I left it alone. But later on I hear, the wolfing like, oh, he pumped his, like, that didn't happen.
Yeah. Like, bro,
didn't happen like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that was my first taste. So they were trying me as an adult. My first, I was fighting my 707 first to be.
What is a 707?
To try you as a juvenile.
That's what it's called?
Adult,
okay.
Yeah. So I lost that and they tried me as an adult because my co-defendants were older. They were all adults.
Okay.
So the court process, forgot I sent you my paperwork, but through that whole transition, it started from juvenile hall to the Annex. Just when I lost my 707, they put me to another place where it was like a holding center for like INS, like people who minors or people who were just getting released for doing their time but have an INS hold, and they were minors.
That's in Terminal Annex, isn't it? It used to be there before.
In Santa Ana.
Okay.
Yeah. No, you know what? What is that across from the block? The block. Because I remember it being built at that time.
I don't know. Because I'm not from that side, so I've never gone to the system on that side. Mm-hmm. But whatever, you were there.
Yeah. So I remember watching the block get built while I was there. But these were guys who already did prison time, fighting an INS hold. But they were minors too. And here we are as minors getting sentenced as adults. But we haven't got our time yet, and they were playing politics in there,
Because they're already coming from prison.
Yeah.
Adult prison because they were charged as adults as well?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They were minors in prison. Like they were 17 years old in prison. 16.
And how was their behavior towards you?
It was mellow there. Oh, let me back up to juvenile hall real quick.
Okay.
When I was in juvenile hall. So this was I remember at that time, that was when, Tupac got shot and all that. I remember reading that in the newspaper while I was there. And they transferred me to different units because they were sending me somewhere else to be
tried.
Yeah, to be tried as an adult. But in these units, they were locked down 23 hours. You know, I was so bored. So I did whatever I could just to get out and pick a fight with somebody. I was so bored, you know, some kind of interaction. And I remember they had me in this unit and this guy walks by. He's going to the shower and he hit me up little. I mean, he was a little older than me. I was like, but he hits me up through my window and I'm like, yeah, what the hell? You know, like, why? But we end up in the same place together and we're showering. And then so I was like, hey, what did you say when you walked past my window? And he hit me up again. I'm like, yeah, this guy's crazy. Like, what's wrong with this guy? Right?
But in juvenile hall is what you do.
But then I asked him, like, where are you from? And he was like, nowhere. I'm like, what? Why are you banging on me? Right? I was so confused. So he told me his story. He was a foster kid who got lost in the system. That's what he had told me. So he goes and tells me his spiel. And then I smashed him anyway, you know, because I don't know why, because he hit me up first.
Yeah.
And, but then
that must be super scary, huh? You're lost in the system.
Yeah. When he told me the story, I did feel a type of way, but I think he was crazy too, though.
Well, I mean, come on.
Yeah. Yeah. But the story he told me, I don't know if it was legit his story, but you hear people that do get lost in the system and it just makes you institutionalized. You don't have help. Like, yeah, so that was something crazy that happened in there. Another time we were eating chow, and there was these two guys right in front of me. Again, like I mind my own, you know. And
you seem very calm.
One guy, yeah, I am. One guy hits me up for no reason. We're just eating, and they must have been from the same place because the other guy laughed, and I remember I saw his braces when he smiled. And just not even thinking, like, you know, I held my tray up and I punched my tray into his face.
I mean, you got to do what you got to do.
But I didn't have to, you know.
Well, he laughed. I honestly, like now I'm grown. Yeah. That's not okay. But when you're in those situations and you don't defend yourself in a certain manner, then other people are going to do it.
True.
So that's why you did
that place too.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, so it's not like you couldn't, like, I don't condone that. Obviously, we're out if we're world, but I'm saying, like, if you're in those, living in those, because there's a lot of kids that are still going in and out of juvenile hall, and it's like, you still have to protect yourself from those kind of people, because those are the kind of kids that will push your buttons to see how you're going to behave, and everybody else is going to see that.
That's true.
You know?
Yeah.
So you got to jump before they jump.
Yeah.
You know?
It's another world in there.
It really is.
But I've had my fair shares of, like, you know, one-on-ones and, you know, nothing ever personal, you know, maybe it's testosterone, but after it was done to me.
Yeah.
Like, I never held a grudge or anything, but it was exciting to me to go through those things at the time, you know, I was still a kid. So we go through court and all that. I finally, one of my co-defendants who was an adult, finally got to see him in court, and I had paperwork and I said, this dude, remember I said they're Southsiders, right? Mm-hmm. They're from a big Southside neighborhood. I showed them the paperwork, and one of those guys was with me, where I was at. Mm-hmm. So I go back and I say, show them the paperwork. Remember I said those kids were playing politics. Mm-hmm. Show them the paperwork. I go, I gotta have a heads up fade with this dude. He's my co-defendant too, you know, but he's snitching. You gotta
do what you gotta do.
Yeah, and they let it happen, you know. They let it happen. I had a friend that was also from the neighborhood with me just to watch, you know, just stay at the door and make sure nobody else jumps in. And yeah, like politics, you know, like snitches get stitches, you know, also, but don't participate, you know.
I mean, even if you don't participate in the program, snitches still get stitches.
Yeah, I mean,
because it's not okay. How are you going to behave a certain way and think you're just going to tell on everybody else? That's not okay. This is, and I just mean in real life, I just mean in real life. Like I even tell my 5-year-old, like, hey, it's not okay to be a tattletale unless you tell mama. Mm-hmm. If the kid's hurting you, tell the teacher. If the teacher's not listening, then it's completely different. But you still have to teach your kids, like, hey, don't be a tattletale.
My kids know, yeah.
You know, it's okay. It depends. You tell mom.
Right.
You know, mom will deal with it. Right. Because you can't have your kids like crying about everything, even though they're willing to pick on the kid too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's true. Mm-hmm.
Kids are willing to pick, but once you do it to them, it's a problem.
Yeah. You're the toxic one. Yeah.
You know, and it's like, I was raised that way as far as like, people always picked on me. Yeah. Not like pick, but it's like, oh, you know, I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Like, not my mom would always say, like, if somebody hits you, you hit them back.
Defend yourself. Yeah.
Because if not,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yep.
and that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And you were raised in military parents. Like, I'm sure they were even way more strict. No.
Yes and no. Like there wasn't. I don't recall having much interaction.
Oh,
you know,
okay.
With my dad, I didn't have much interaction. My dad was a quiet type, silent, quiet type. You know, he was there, but didn't say anything to you. But that was just as worse. You know, because you're there, and I don't know if I'm doing something wrong because you're not saying anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but my mom, my poor mom, like she's been there through thick and thin, which I didn't realize until you know I got older. Like damn. Like I'm always talking about my dad not being there, but my mom has always been there, you know, for that burden, the stressing out. Like maybe my dad too, but quietly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe that's just the type he is. But my mom has went through the ringer, and what I noticed is she never backed down. She was always there. You know,
do what you gotta do.
Even if I felt the type of way, she was there.
That's good.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So you're in your court. What are you getting charged with?
So at first it was premeditated attempted murder. You know, 3 people got shot. So it was premeditated attempted murder. Remember I said somebody gave a testament that I got out and went to get the guns. Okay, so they said, okay, then it was premeditated. Like, but that never happened.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So through the length of court, I ended up turning 18. And they sent me to the county jail.
How was your first experience in the county jail?
You know what? People didn't know what my nationality was. You know, like it was like an outer body experience. You know, like I'm just going with the flow with everything.
Because you look Mexican.
And that's what I got. So here's a funny story about an accidental removal. So I was in the county, right? And
this is when you're first getting there.
I've been there maybe a couple weeks now.
Okay.
And there was this guy. His name was Arturo, right? And he had a tick, and he would brush his hair and he'd do this. But I would see it and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna accidentally do it. And I did one day, right? So like I said, I grew up with a lot of Hispanics too. And I was trying to be cool one day eating. And I was gonna say, do you want the beans? But I actually said, instead I said, ¿tú quieres? Instead of saying ¿tú quieres? I said, ¿tú eres frijoles? And so everybody looked, but he started laughing really hard. And I was like, woof, you know, so it became like a cool thing. Like we played handball together. And then one day, I guess they had to roll somebody up. And he walked by me, the group of them walked by me and he was like, come on, you know, where are we going? So we went upstairs and they told somebody to roll it up. And I'm like, damn, I just took part of an accidental removal. You know, I shouldn't have been there, you know. So
because you run what?
Other.
Okay.
I'm an other. You know, my neighborhood, like I said, it's a mixed neighborhood and it's your choice. You know, you have Filipinos who are Southsiders, who are Northerners, who are Bloods and Crips, you know, but I chose other. Like, I feel like.
Do they have it like, do they have it? Is it easier to like do your prison stay? Do you guys still have to be like in the mix or like, it's just you do your time and you stay out the way? I
mean, it depends if you're on a yard that politics. Like, didn't have much issues. Like we've done prison stuff. Like when it's time to, you know, you partake in it. Like
when you have no choice, kind of vibes.
Yeah. Even then, it's like watching a movie because you know you were there and you participated. But when I look back at it, I was like, damn, how did we do that? Like I can't imagine this age going back and doing that.
God.
Like no, like
okay. So back to you getting sentenced. First, how long did you fight your case for?
I think it was over a year because I ended up turning 18. And they kept coming back with different plea bargains.
Okay.
And because they were saying life first, you know, and then it dropped to 18 and then it dropped to like 15. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. It keeps going down, you know, and then I heard the people in the other car, they got 8, you know, 8 or 10 or whatever they were signing off. Some of them went to juvenile hall that were still, you know, like maybe 16, you know, they went to juvenile hall. So the day before trial, me and one of my co-defendants, we were next door. We already had our dress outs and we were talking and my public defender comes back and he's telling us like, hey, look, he's like, they're not gonna go any lower. He just said that. They're not gonna go any lower. They're offering you 12 with a possibility of 80%.
That's love.
And 2 strikes, right?
Oh.
That's what he said the day before trial. He goes out and he comes back, and me and my co-defendant were talking like, damn. Or if you lose, you'll get a life sentence. So he comes back 12. I was ready to jump on 12.
Yeah.
So he comes back and he goes, okay, they're offering you 8 years, but you got to sign for 2 strikes with the possibility of halftime. I'm like, why not? Yeah, sure.
Not thinking about the strikes.
No, not at all. Not at all. So I signed for it and started my time. I signed a plea bargain, and the charges were 3 counts of assault with a firearm and street terrorism. If you're in a gang, you're getting that street terrorism charge. So that was it. I was happy to do that and start my time.
So what happened after you got sentenced?
So, things moved pretty quick. After I got sentenced, I went back. And it seemed like it happened really quick because I feel like it wasn't even a month before the bus picked me up. And for some reason, I thought I was going to go to YA. Maybe I wasn't paying attention,
Yeah, you're just going.
And as soon as I got on the bus, I'm like, oh, these guys are like big dudes, right? And I asked one of the sheriffs on the bus, I say, I think I'm on the wrong bus. Can you check my name? And I heard people laugh like, oh, no, you're going to prison. I'm like, damn, okay. Well,
because you're 18.
Got to go with the flow.
Yeah. And let me ask you, when you got to the county, like, is that obviously you go to the same program, like, hey, what are you wrong with? What do you say? Like, how did you know who to go with?
I didn't actually. Like my neighborhood, like I said, it was a mixed neighborhood, and it's up to you, like where you're gonna run
how did you learn this? Especially because it's a mixed gang.
Well, we'd have meetings,
Okay. Like,
older
they tell
homies
you
who did time. Some of them would run Southside. Some of them would just be other. Some of them were Crips. Just depending on what nationality they were. So they did put you up on game too. If you do get arrested, this is what happens. Yeah, but in the street, we were at a point where we didn't claim anything. We were just us. So we had a lot of hate, beef with everybody. We were a small group, but we also had a lot of love and hate. Got it. Because a lot of our family members ended up, being from Southside neighborhoods. Like I said, they were going to be petitioned at one point, but we couldn't do that. So it's up to you. It was up to you who you were going to run with. Okay. And the funny thing was, I wasn't very cultural at all because I grew up in a military base. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wasn't
like taught. The rest of everybody else.
No, I wasn't.
Did you feel singled out while you were in there as well?
To tell you the truth, I always felt a deeper connection to the Cholo ways. It was just something about the, I don't know, the style, I guess. I watched all those movies. It's something relatable that I felt
like it was to. You.
You know how you always feel like there's something missing. Mm-hmm. It was just one of those things. Okay. In my life, but I always identified even my best friends now, they're Hispanic. When I look back, I'm like, wait a minute, I have a goddaughter who's Hispanic.
It's just what it is.
That's where I ended up.
And what would you say was the craziest thing you experienced in the county jail through your 1 year fighting your case?
The craziest thing. Well, nothing really crazy. Okay. I mean, because you come from juvenile hall, you're already it's crazier there. It is. There's more respect. There's more respect when something happens in the county or in prison. There's respect there. But juvenile hall is just wild. Yeah. That makes sense.
So you get sentenced, you're in the bus, and you're like, hey, I'm going to the wrong place. They're like, no, you're not. Yeah. Where did you end up going?
I ended up going to reception in Wasco. Okay. And like I said, it's a small neighborhood, but anywhere I've been, I run into a homie, and I seen a homie there, getting on opposite sides. I see him, we acknowledge each other, but we didn't end up in the same yard. So here I am at Wasco in reception.
This is new to you?
It's new. So this is where the politics come in. Whenever they let us out, I was celled up with some little Asian dude from maybe Van Nuys. I don't remember. It wasn't long. but I remember it was just us first, and there was another Asian dude somewhere on the yard. And so we were taking a lap, and there was only 2 sets, I think, at the time, pull-up bars and dip bars. And I was just trying to
Work
do
out.
some pull-ups, So I jumped on a bar, and somebody had come by and he was like, "Hey, who do you run with?" Let me back up real quick. When I got off the bus in reception, there must have been an issue on another yard because there was 2 guys in cages already while we were getting off the bus, and there were 2 guys in cages, and one of us pinpoints me out, and he must have seen my tattoos. I don't know, because we were all stripped down too, and he was just like, "You guys got the green light." He's like, "But all you saw was the LB, So my neighborhood didn't have a green light, but it was another neighborhood, but we had same rivals, So he said, "You guys got the green light," and I was just like thinking, like, damn, it's gonna be nonstop here. So we go out to the yard, and I'm on the pull-up bar, and some guy comes up and he's like, "Hey, who you run with?" And I said, "Other," right? Or I don't remember saying other. Maybe I didn't say anything at all. Maybe I just looked at him crazy, trying to process what was going on. And he said that these bars, I couldn't be on those bars. But that's not what I heard. I felt like you were trying to bully me. Like I said, I don't like the bully type. But he was the only one saying it. Like, little did I know he was a spokesperson. Somebody told him to say it. So he said, don't be on these bars again. And I made the mistake
of going to them.
Maybe a couple days later, I made the mistake. Just totally slipped my mind. I wasn't trying to be defiant, anything like that. And they sent a torpedo. They sent a torpedo maybe to warn me, but he did stick me. He did stick me. And me and my cellie actually got saran wrap from the sandwich and just kind of like sealed it up, and was like started plotting. Like, okay. But
oh my goodness!
But ended up getting shipped somewhere else to Pleasant Valley.
Okay, right away.
After. Yeah, nobody.
It didn't like get dirty, or like you cleaned it. Like, what happened?
I don't remember anything happened. Like, just soap and water and burnt the sandwich wrapper on it.
Oh fuck!
Yeah, like we did a self-surgery. It never got infected.
Oh, thank God. I mean, obviously you're here, right?
Yeah, never got infected.
Wow.
But yeah, I just thought we're gonna have to do something back, but that opportunity never came
because God knows you had to move.
Thank God, yeah, it never came. So I ended up leaving first, and I got shipped to Pleasant Valley, which is in Coalinga. And I just remember it was hot. I was like, getting off the bus, it was super hot, and I get to the yard. I think you're on lockdown for a couple of days while they process,
your stuff.
Yeah, and then I just remember there was a point where they were like, "Do you want to take any of these classes?" You meet with a counselor, and each yard had a different, like, maybe one yard had upholstery, the other one had like computer repair, stuff like that, And I just remember thinking like, "Oh, computer repair maybe." So I ended up getting shipped to the yard that had computer repair, and then I had a homie on the yard, older homie that was on the yard. So it was natural, like, to just jump right into it.
So did you guys have did you have the green light or no?
No, I mean, I don't know what that actually, I mean.
Yeah, you survived.
I mean, the green light depends who's saying it. You know what I mean?
Got it.
Because I've also had other Southsiders come up and like give me my props or like acknowledge like their Southside.
Yeah, you didn't have a problem, which was great.
Yeah, because I had paperwork too.
Okay.
I had paperwork. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I ended up on the yard with the homie, and I was working in the kitchen, and then I went to school. Like, I did
kept yourself busy. You programmed.
I programmed. I didn't have a lot of issues, but I saw the politics. You were asking about if others politic. I feel like you jump when you're supposed to jump because you're low in numbers, and you have to just because we're low in numbers. But I feel like other people want to capitalize or take advantage and be like, because it's prison,
There's always those mean ones.
and to me, that happened to be my homeboy. He was a homie. And I actually got to meet the real person and the persona, even with myself. I had to address who I actually really was. So the persona and the real self. And the real self was like, this is whack. You know, like I'm here on the yard. Pretty much everybody's cool. Like, you know, everybody's cool until
Everybody's
there's an
just
issue.
there's exactly, yeah.
You know?
I love that you said that. Like
Yeah.
everybody just wants to be cool unless things have to be moved a certain way.
Yeah.
And there's always a certain ones that are already part of involved or whatever, you know. But if like you said, like everybody is cool, just don't get involved.
You know what lines to cross. You know respect. You mind your manners. If you're not, you know, sorry, thank you. You know, all the things that you should know here in the real world.
Yeah,
you
that
know?
people are not respectful about.
Yeah,
you know. And I also feel like for you, like I was gonna ask you, like you knew that you were gonna come home. You were programming. You were getting to know yourself.
Yes. Okay. So that, remember I said that there was a girl who I told that I was going to turn myself in.
Yes.
She ended up being my wife. We ended up getting married in there. So the whole time when I was gone, she was there. She sent me packages. She went through what I went through. You know, 4 years ago we divorced. We have 3 beautiful kids. You know.
Wait, you guys got pregnant? You got pregnant while you were in there?
No.
Oh.
As soon as I got out.
Okay.
You know. But she held it down there. You know. So that was also a motivator. Like, oh man, I want to go to these visits. You know.
Yes.
I don't want to get caught up in these games and then mess up my visits. But sometimes it happens because you don't have a choice.
Yeah.
And
which is okay. It's just what it is when you're in there. You know, you put yourself in the situation of being in prison. Now you got to accept what it is in there.
For sure. And it was hard to be at 2 places at one time, you know, because I would have a taste of a little bit of freedom and then have to go back. And then you have to decide, like, damn, did that person disrespect me, or what
am I just being extra?
Yeah. Am I in my feelings, you know? But
at least you were able to like sit back and like, hey, is it me or...
I've been in situations. I remember what I said. Like I was put in a situation to where, you know, politics, like a torpedo. Somebody will say, "Hey, you got to do this." You know, that happened to me in the street already, and my outcome was like, "I'm not going to do that." You know, like I'm gonna do. You know, I can make up my own mind. Like everything else that I've done because I wanted to. Now that you tell me to, like, you know, what's your motive?
Yeah, but in there is different.
Yeah, it is different. But I also had that mentality, like, what's going on? Like, why are we doing this? Not to push against the grain, but like, well, not one person can say we got to do this just because. What happened? Like, that's what you do in the real world. Like, why am I going down?
Because you're not in the real world.
I'm already doing time for that. You know, let's hear it out. You know, there's a panel. Let's discuss what happened and decide as a group what we're going to do forward.
Because it was a little bit of you guys.
Yeah, it was a little bit.
So you were able to do that.
Yes.
You know, and certain other people, like other parties.
Yeah.
No, you don't do that.
They don't. No.
Well, because you can't question the man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, at least you were able to do that, and which was a blessing for you.
Yeah. No, it really was, because people couldn't talk to each other. Say there was a Filipino Northerner and a Filipino Southerner. The Filipino Southerner had came up to me and was just like, "Hey, I'm from Colonial Chiques, but I run Southside, but I'm Filipino." He's like, "If you need anything, you just hit me up." You know?
Oh, that was very cute.
Same thing for them.
Cute. That was very nice.
It was cute.
I've been saying cute this morning a lot.
Yeah. And same with the Northerner. And I was like, wait, why did we do that then? Why they're showing love? Like, why can't we just, you know? But it wasn't for me to question in there, because you have to be a certain.
Well, it's because you were other.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only reason, probably. If you weren't an other, they probably would have never done that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, not that I know, because I've never been in prison with men, and I'm never going to be in prison with men, thank God, right? I don't want to be in prison ever again. I'm just saying, like, maybe that's why.
Depending on the facility you're at, others will even split up. Like, where I was at.
Yeah, I just want to know about the others.
It was the others were, say, the Samoans, Tongans, Filipinos, you know, different races. And then on the South side, you might have your Vietnamese, Koreans. Like, there are others as well, but we're separated. But on the yard, we're together. You know, I was like, this is mind-boggling. I don't understand why we're doing this. You know, but it's politics.
It's what it is.
It's their house. People had to do certain things to make it that way. Yeah. So you just respect it. You know, my intentions were not to be there. I had a release date. I knew it. There were times where we were put in positions, right? I had a friend who was Samoan dude, and we were having an issue, and it was we were gonna riot, you know. Actually, I think they did riot. They did riot, but during that time, something happened where they didn't let me get involved, you know. So when the yard came back, he asked me to take a walk with him, and he was on the yard crew. So there was this little hidden area where, you know, where they knew about. So we took that lap, and as soon as we got there, he kind of like pressured me. He's like, "What's wrong?" His demeanor changed. He's like, "What's wrong with you?" Like, you know, I was like, "What?" Like, I didn't know where it was coming from. He goes, Do you want to spend the rest of your life in here with me?" And I couldn't process what was going on because I felt like a child getting scolded, and all I wanted to do was belong and be there. You know, I wanted you to like know that I'm here. I got you, you know, but I felt like I'm being pushed away again in my life. So I couldn't understand what was
You
going on.
wanted the best for you.
He did. And then it wasn't until I got back to myself. I do this a lot where I replay things, and I was just trying to hear the message. Like, wait, he was actually looking out for me, you know?
Because I definitely agree, and I've seen it. Like, I've seen it, heard, you know, I've heard them like, a lifer that's doing life that's he wants you to come home if you have a chance, and he wants you to come home and make the best out of life. Like,
Right.
you know, they're going full force, they're doing life, and they know they're not gonna. So it's like, God bless you guys, you know, free the solid. They know they're not gonna ever come home, and
Right.
they gotta do what they gotta do. That's just what it is.
Mhm.
But if they're, you know, like, there was a like, someone came home, and, you know, he went right back in.
Yeah.
And then they were like, look at this dumbass. Like, they were like, idiot.
And I've seen those people come back.
Like, it's just like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, they didn't even like want to talk about the guy anymore, like in a positive manner, because he was so disappointed in his behavior.
Yeah. But you know what? It is hard out here. You know,
Hey,
sometimes
the streets are harder. The streets ain't for the weak.
Yeah, it is hard.
The streets ain't for the weak. So if you're like, but most of the time it's like, if you go back and forth, you're just because you're an addict, bro. It's not because you're in here putting in work. Like, bro, chill.
Right. Street soldier.
You know, like, bro, like, there is those, obviously, but that's their career. You know, they don't do drugs, they don't do anything, but that's just, hey, that's the life they chose. Right. Respect. Right. But the ones that are like in and out because they're getting high, like, bro, get out of here with that shit.
Yeah.
So back to you. Sorry, we just sidetracked.
No, it's okay.
I like to sidetrack sometimes,
I
you
like
know?
having these conversations.
So he put you to the side, and he's a guy that's like there. He took you for a walk, and he was like, bro, what are you doing? You're going to come home.
Yeah.
What happens after that?
So he was always like, you know, a few older people, they were like, you remind me of my son. Or like, they always took me under their wing, like, make sure I was protected, you know? In my mind, I think I'm as big as the big Samoans, and, you know, walking the yard, I was really tiny compared to them. But in my mind, I'm with them all the time. So I feel like, you know, so I feel like I got away with some things that I shouldn't have, you know, just acting a kid. Because I still was a kid, you know? So when I paroled.
How long did you end up doing?
Close to 5 years.
Okay.
So I got out and celebrated my 22nd birthday.
Oh, you were super young when you got out still.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
but
good.
I programmed, like, I swear I was like the most. If there was a yearbook and they said likable prisoner, it's probably me. Only because like I would walk through. I would do after maybe 2 years, I started doing my own program. I sit back and I observe everything that's going on. I'll sit there and I'll play chess with the older fellas, the lifers, and hear what they have to say.
Yeah.
You know, and like, I don't want to come back. Why do you keep coming back? Like, I don't want to do that. You have kids, then why aren't you out there? To me, that's sad. Like, I want you to go home. Like, it seems like you're sorry and you want to go home now, but they're not going to let you. You know, so I'm hearing them do this, and like, I hear the message. You know.
Yeah. And you got the message.
Yeah, but I was so cool with not like we can all eat together all the time like that. That wasn't how cool it was, but I would have conversations with Southerners, Northerners, blacks, like whites, like
everybody.
Not really having an issue, you know. There'd be times where the brothers would be making beats on the table and freestyling, you know, and I would come by, I'll jump in, you know.
What about, did you ever dance?
I did. I had a break dance battle with the Northerners. COs confirmed that. It was on the yard, and the COs sat and watched too. You know, it was with the it was with the Northerners, and
Did you win the battle?
I don't think so.
Ah,
I don't think I did. I think I was nervous, but it was still fun.
No, I don't. It's a cool experience. You're in there. You get out of
Yeah.
there for the moment.
Yeah,
You
you know
know.
what they did that was cool? They had like talent shows.
I think prisons do have talent shows.
They had talent shows. I was like, wow. I remember this brother came up to me one day, and this was already me like jumping in the freestyles when they would. I would even do the crip walk, the blood bounce I would just do everything, you know. I was just that kid.
And they would pump you up too, huh?
Yeah, yeah. They would love it. Like, oh, look at this guy. Well, they would have never imagined, right?
Yeah.
So this guy comes up to me on the yard, brother, and he comes up and he's like, hey, let me rap for you, right? I was like, what? That was weird. But he reminded me of like an old Eazy-E, like still that Compton flow. And I was like, man, there's a lot of hidden talent in there.
Oh, a lot.
You know, a lot of smart people that can come up and innovative. Like they're building something. They're building lighters. They're building tattoos. I was like, how do you know this? You know, go out there and build something else, patent something.
What would you say was the nicest thing you experienced while being there?
So spreads. Like I know everybody says spreads, but being able to spread with different groups, you know.
For yourself.
For myself. Also, I was part of this program. I had an anger management class too, / it was also a substance abuse program. And they brought that in my last year, and my points were dropping, and I was already in the mindset I got to take off on somebody so I could stay on this yard.
Oh my God!
You know,
yeah,
just so I could stay on the yard. And but I told my counselor like, hey, I want to stay in this program, so they gave me an override to stay in the program until I paroled. So in this program, I had multiple counselors, anger management counselors. Like, you know, to me at the time, I felt like I'm stressed out now. I'm getting close where I could potentially go home. You know, I had the potential to go home with halftime. So now I'm stressing out. Like, man, I want to go home. So this new counselor comes in. Her name's Lucinda, and she heard me. You know, we got to talking one day, and I noticed one thing that was different as she wasn't minding everything else that was going on around us. She gave me her attention, and she was repeating what I was saying back to her. So, okay, she hears me. So it just became this slow bond. Like we would talk, and she gave me this flyer called Erase the Past, you know, from Long Beach. She was big working with outreach in Long Beach. And it was called Erase the Past, and they removed gang-related tattoos if you wanted for free. You would just have to volunteer somewhere to make up some hours, you know. And I put the flyer in one of my photo albums. I didn't decide, like, it wasn't in me to be like, I'm gonna take this off. No, that's not what I thought, you know, because I love my neighborhood. Even till this day, I love when I belong there. Times have changed, yes, but I love where I was from. So I get out. The very next day, I remember getting out, and
your wife at the moment picked you up.
She did, and it wasn't until the next morning when I woke up, facing the wall, and I remember I saw the shades, saw the blinds, and I heard birds chirp, and I remember I sat up, and that's when everything came to me. I cried because I was like, yeah, I was free, but it was just such a relief. Like, okay, so like I'm here. I'm really here, you know? And it was freeing to me. Sorry, let me back up real quick. Lucinda. So the Thanksgiving before I was released, they celebrated Thanksgiving, right? I got a ducat to go to the visiting room. I was like, oh, midweek ducat? Like, what's going on? So we go, and they have a Thanksgiving feast set up, and it's the counselors and their families serving us. And I remember thinking, man, this sucks. Like, I felt something to where, like, I want to go home. Like, I felt loved. You know, they're serving you. They're being nice to you. Like, you know, like, oh, man, I need to go home. you know. So I ended up paroling on my brother's birthday. I got out on my brother's birthday, so it was a surprise to him. Right?
Okay.
So I get out and I'm living life, and I want to go back to the neighborhood, you know, just because.
How long how long did it take you for you to actually like adjust? Like when you got out the first week, like what were you doing? Like was it still were you still doing things like if you were in prison?
Well, I still programmed. I still like wanted to polish the sink, and like, you know, I was still cooking from a bag, you know, I was still mixing everything in the bag. Only difference now is like I had real heat instead of like frying stuff on your bunk. I actually had a stove, and I was still making the same meals almost. But I don't think that ever goes away. You know, you still have some habits. There is some form of PTSD. I ended up going to school, but I did notice I'm always like looking over my back. I have to sit where I could see the front door. I have to see where the weapons are, like in case I need to. They're just habits, right? You know,
it's so funny that you say that, because even me as a woman, like, I mean, I don't look at the weapons, but I do. Like, I look, I see. I don't like to put my, and I think it's just what it is. Like, you just always want to know, like, how are you going to protect yourself in case of an emergency? Like, no, it's crazy because it really is like that.
You ever do this while you're driving and something happens and you reach over, like you have, but you don't have nothing. There's nothing there. Like, what are you reaching for?
I don't do that.
Yeah, that's funny. But those type of
Did you drink coffee in
there? Later on, I did.
Okay.
I think I was already like naturally wired, but you know, just like everybody else, it was like, oh, breakfast too. For some reason, I love the food. I love this. I love hospital food. I love state food for some reason.
I don't mind it either, to be honest. Like
SOS. You like this?
Like, yeah, I like everything. Like, I never not ate my food. Like, I never not ate my food. I just don't like the bologna from the county. But
did you put it on your window to dry it up?
No, I didn't do that. I would take off the little thing. You know, the little, I don't know what they are. Those little, like, I don't know.
The seed in it? Like the pepper?
I don't like bologna. Like, I just wouldn't eat it. I would no. Like, I'd rather have like a boiled egg with jelly in my sandwich.
Oh, yeah. I still love peanut butter and jelly, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not a peanut butter and jelly.
No, not peanut butter?
No, I like jelly with egg.
Oh.
I don't eat it now. I've only ate it every time I went to the county, like Joe.
I would have people wake up on Sundays to go to breakfast to give me their bread, because that was not the hard boiled egg. It was scrambled egg that day. Saturday was hard boiled. So I wake up, hey, can you go Sunday? Just give me your eggs, and they would do that. Like, I was a kid, I was a brother, you know.
Yeah.
And they would do that for me. So I felt like there was a lot of love there, like as far as like who I was to them and how I respected them back, because later on, like, I would get birthday cards from them. You know, here I am free, and they want to know how I'm doing, and they would send me birthday cards. Like, you look at the birthday cards. Hey, that's a Northerner, that's a Southerner signing the same
love.
card.
Yeah,
that is love. And so, how can you come back to the street and do the same thing and have the same ideology? Like, nah, man. Like, everybody's cool. Like, be cool, and people will be cool.
But everybody that's done time thinks like that. That's done long periods of time.
True. I went to a lifer reunion not too long ago.
Really?
I'm not a lifer. And I got an invitation from somebody in there.
What? Like, there's like reunions of lifers?
There is.
How cool is that? I've never heard that. Babe, tell me how cool that is. There's lifer reunions.
Oh, damn, that's crazy.
Yeah. So what I noticed there is, like I said, I'm not a lifer, but all these people are, and they still have love. They still remember you.
Well, they come home though. They're ex-lifers.
They're ex-lifers that were. So what I noticed was, like, looking in the wave was like all the different nationalities mixed together. You know, it's a different kind of appreciation now. No politics. You're eating from the same. You're both getting food from the same place. You know, so
different spoons.
Okay. Yeah. So why can't we just do that as adults? Like, now that we know that as big homies or older people, we should be telling the younger generation, like, hey, no, man, get a job. Like, that's what.
Well, then we do.
Yeah, I don't know if I would have listened back then either.
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
You just said it.
Yeah.
Sometimes
but
when you're in that
avenues now.
Huh?
There's different avenues now. You know what I mean? Like, there's people are creating businesses, and you're able. I mean, with social media, you're able to get everything out there. Like, you know, it's like there's got to be a bigger picture. Shoot, like, I didn't notice beauty until I was on the bus going to reception, I looked out the window and I saw the trees, like the way it was formed. And I said, oh man,
That's
that looks
dope.
cool. And then I'm like, ooh, unfortunately I had to learn it this way.
But it's not even unfortunately,
Yeah.
it's what you had to go through
Mhm.
to appreciate your future life.
Yeah,
Because or else you probably would have never cared.
true.
You know, it's just like you say like, oh, we have resources to tell the younger kids. Sometimes that's just the way they gotta go.
Yeah, they have to experience it.
They have to go. We have to go through what we have to go through. Yes, hey, don't do it this way. If you do it this way, and I feel like this is what my show is about. You know, like if you watch this and you want to live that life, this is what you're gonna. I'm not telling you not to, because who am I?
Right.
You do
right.
what you do.
Right.
Would I want that life for you, for my kids? No, definitely not.
Mhm.
But that's what you want to do. Dale gas. This
Yeah.
is what's gonna happen.
Right.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
like who am I? I'm just like we're just all the same. We just experience, and we don't want that for our younger generation. But if that's what you want to do, hey, do your thing.
Mm.
Do your thing, boo. This is what's gonna happen.
Right.
You know, and that's all we could really do is talk, let them hear. Damn, you know,
Yeah.
and that's all.
It's relatable. You tell them a story. Tell them. I mean, just with kids now as they get older, you put them up on game. So when they start to go through that same experience, they'll say, "Oh, my dad was telling me about this."
Mhm.
You have a little bit of upper hand. You still might make a bad decision, but you knew.
Exactly.
You know. Yeah.
So tell me about you got out. You got on your brother's birthday. You're out. You're a week, and you're thinking about like, damn, I want to go back to the life.
I do. So it was hard to, at first. Maybe took a couple weeks off to get my license and stuff like that. So I went to school in there. I got my GED.
Nice.
I tried, like I started from ground zero, learning everything, and that's how I was able to get my GED and catch back up.
Nice.
I took extra courses. I took literacy courses to teach people how to read. I took life skills stuff in there. I went to computer repair for a while, but I didn't.
That wasn't your thing.
It was just hanging out. I was taking things apart, but I could never put things back together. But it was more for hanging out,
Yeah.
And working out back there. So the first couple of weeks, I just try to transition back in, get my license, and hang out with family back then. So I have a friend, my goddaughter's mom, who worked at this company. It was an X-ray company, right? And so she got me an interview there. During the interview, the person that interviewed me actually hung out with my rivals back in the day. And during the interview, it came up, and he was like, "Where are you from?" And I told him. He's like, "I'm from Islanders." And then he told me where he was
But
from.
what does that have to do with the interview? What the heck?
I don't know. Maybe he was testing me, but he told me where he was from. He gave me a shot, and he ended up being a really fair, good boss. But they were paying me peanuts.
That's like weird. You're gonna go get a real job, and they're asking you like what gang you're from.
Yeah. Well,
Whatever. He knew you guys were relatable to each other.
But I ran into him. That was 23 years ago. I ran into him last year at a refinery, and I heard him. He was still a manager at another company. I heard him say something, and I said, "Yeah, that sounds like his voice." So I waited till the end of it just to see if it was him, and it was him. I said, "Hey man, do you remember me?" And he was like, "The face, yes." And so I reminded him, and he was like, "Yeah." So we caught up, and I just thanked him again for giving me that shot. I was like, we were enemies back then. You didn't know me personally, but we were our neighborhoods were enemies. I had another similar situation like that. I was at a gas station, and on the west side where I still work, and I see the guy asking for change. I see the big tattoo on his neck already. I see him asking everybody else. He looks at me, but he's not going to ask me. So I go to him. I'm like, "Hey, what's up, man? You need some change?" I see the tattoo on his neck, and he was.
Oh, so you went?
Yeah, but I was already above all that already.
Mhm.
So I said, "You need some change," and I said, "Let me go in real quick, and I'll give you what I can." So I come out, and we're just chopping it up a little bit, and I go, "I see the tattoo on your neck." I'm like, "What happened? Like, why are you out here, asking?" And so he tells me, he's like,
Drugs.
drugs. And I was like, "Your homies don't look out for you?" He was like, "Nah." I was like, "See how you're used,
Well, that's not necessarily true, though.
His story. That's his story, though. His story.
Like that's like when you're down and out, like nobody wants to be around you. Period. So why should even if it's your homie, like, bro, I'm not gonna look out for this fool. He wants to go smoke that shit.
Yeah.
Be mad, fool. All my homies in there. Well, yeah, we're not, bro.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? It's just like a self-pity smoker vibe. That's what I think.
I haven't been around that much. That was the era when I went in, is when everybody started getting into it. You know,
Like they're getting high.
yeah, from what I heard, and it erased enemy lines, and like I come out and it's not the same.
Mhm.
People are still hanging out, but I was trying to find a job. I was trying to do right, and we had a kid, first kid, my first son, and things changed there. I was like, okay, well, somebody depends on me now, So I still struggled. Like, I want to do this. I want my boys to be tough. I'm shaving their head. I'm having them dress like me.
Oh, dang.
I'm creasing their pants, but I'm not taking them out. I'm not taking them to the neighborhood. I'm just like,
You just like the style.
I just want a little me,
With love.
And then with my daughter was the second one. Okay, then things change. Then it was like, they always say it's the daughter. And it was for me. Like, it's a girl now. Now I got to think different. Now I got to treat her different. Now I feel sorry for everything that I've ever done to any girl that was not right, But it was me, like, accepting all these things. Like, whoa, what's going on with me, And then my youngest one, like I said, just turned 18. So fast. Like, this whole time went by so quick. They grew up so quick. And in that time, I worked. I tried to do things to where they weren't going to be judged because of me. I got all my tattoos removed at one point. All my tattoos, all gang related tattoos, anything that I had got removed. And then I put more on.
I'm like, I can see those. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I put more on after, because it was a different story. Like, I'm not against tattoos. I love tattoos too.
Mm-hmm.
But the story was different. It was a clean canvas, and my heart has changed, So I ended up, after the x-ray company, I saw these guys working at a gas station, environmental company, right? I saw these guys working at a gas station, and I had another friend who did the same thing, but they were testing water in the gas station. They have like wells that they place in there, and they're testing to see if it's contaminated. So I see these guys, and in my head, I already want out of the x-ray because I'm not making enough.
Yeah, you're just working and working.
Yeah. So I do some research on that company. I go to them in Cyprus, and I go to the business with the resume in hand. Now, when I look at the resume, not much, it's pretty silly, but I go.
But you have confidence.
I do. So I go in there, and I'm asking to talk to any manager, and the receptionist says they're all out to lunch. Okay, I'll wait. So the first person that came back that was a manager was talking to him. I said, hey, I told him the story. I saw these guys here. I looked up at your company, and I regurgitated what I knew about them. So he was like, oh, okay, cool. And I go, are you guys hiring? And he's like, they weren't hiring at the time. And I said, look, man, I was like, I'm still on parole. Like, I just need a break. I'm tired. Like, I'm having kids. Like, I just need a break, Like, it wasn't like I wasn't telling him my whole spiel, but like, hey, just give me a shot. And I ended up saying, let me work for you for a week. If you don't like the way I work, you don't have to pay me. We'll just call it that, So he liked what I said. And I don't remember the time frame. Maybe it was weeks, maybe it was months. But he ended up calling me back while I was at work doing x-rays. And he was just like, hey, we have a position open. Are you still interested? And I said, if you give me the verbal right now, I'll put my 2 weeks in right now. And that's how I started in the oil and gas industry.
Oh, that's good.
Yes. So
you're making a killing.
From there, just by watching others and using experiences like what I've learned in there too, and not wanting to go. Big motivator is having 2 strikes. Like, I cannot afford to get in trouble.
Yes.
So from that company, I just went to other companies that did the same thing. I learned about what they did. I respected what they did. And right now, I've been in the industry, the same company 16 years, the same industry 23 years. I work for a company where I've been the resource manager for the last 12 years. So I'm able to provide knowledge on, say, let me see your resume. Let me tell you what you need to get in here. Let me, let's talk. Before, like, I would have friends they would have this lingo, like, for some reason, like, like, hey dog, like it would be the same thing, right? But I never could get myself to do that. But I was just like, wait, you only say that when you're around us, because I've heard you around other people. Like, what is that? And I could say the same thing, because whenever I go to an island, whenever I go to Hawaii, like I don't have an accent, but I come back with an accent, like I'm from there. Like, what is that?
It's you.
Yeah, and it's just like,
It's where you're most comfortable, probably.
maybe. But I'm able to. I through the years, I've been able to hire in people, who come from the same walk,
Yeah.
who are doing really good, who
I
end
want
up being
more.
managers. They really do. If you give somebody a chance
That wants it.
that wants, yes, that wants it, they'll run with it, and they won't forget how they got there. I don't. I still go back and thank everybody that saw me come along the way. Yeah.
Aw.
Like I worked for the vice president, I'm in a situation
Of the company.
Of the company.
I was like, "They are the vice president, fool."
Yeah, no.
I'm just playing.
Yeah.
But that's dope.
Mhm.
That's dope. So what exactly do you do now besides that? Like, what is it that you got going on? Like, you have your kids, they're already grown. You got your girl. Like, you're just living your best life. Like, tell me about Angel right now.
So my girl, right? So like I said, I got a divorce 4 years ago, which I wouldn't say I saw it coming, but I understood when it came. I saw all the things that we didn't do. Now that I ended up with a girl that I knew pre-high school, and we found each other again through circumstance, right? That's a whole different trippy story itself, because it was meant to be. But once you say the whole story, it was meant for us to find each other again, because back then we wouldn't have stayed together. There's no way.
Yeah.
So she has twins. I'm in the picture where we are navigating. We're navigating, but we have an understanding. My job at work is to make sure everybody else has a job. I work with scientists, geologists, engineers, and just making sure that they have a job. I'll do the health and safety. Like I'm the face for the company at different places, but being that I was able to give other people opportunities. And like I said, you just give them a shot. They grew on their own. You just allow them to get an interview. Everything else there, they did it.
Yeah.
So that's awesome to see. Like, man, you're just as hungry as me. It makes you feel good. It does, because it means that I made the right choice. Like I'm very empathetic now, who knows? Like I've been doing the same thing, the last 16 years. I want to sell life insurance,
Oh, dang.
Who knows? Global financial impact. Like I'm looking into these things. Like you're not taught financial literacy or how to manage your money when you're young, life insurance, all that stuff that you should be doing, stocks and all that. Like, you got to make money, you got to make sure your kids, everybody's good. I'm an ambassador for the Street Line Clothing, West Kings. It's a friend's company, but you celebrate your friends.
Of course.
It's like,
that's what we're supposed to do. We celebrate our friends.
You
love that you said that.
Yeah. So that's me in a nutshell. I'm just, my kids are exploring their music career, and I'm just being here. I'm just dad.
Which is cool.
It is cool. I look back and I'm very proud of how things turned out. Okay. Sometimes the trauma does come up, and we work through that. Like I said, the girl that I'm with now, she's big on like talking and like.
Now we're gonna sit down and we're gonna talk about it. Yeah, talking about it is good.
Yeah, no, it is. Like the whole love language and stuff. Like I never knew that before. But I see, like, I was married for so long. That's what the kids knew. And like I said, there's trauma, and there's gonna be trauma, and
it's part of life.
We'll fix it. We'll work.
I feel like it's part of life.
It is part of life. Yeah, you grow from it.
Yeah.
I knew a lot of people back then who I felt were doing super good. Like, oh man, you're gonna see this person one day and they're gonna be up there. They're doing horrible now. Like, not that I wish that on them, but it seems to be a thing. Like, wait, a lot of people that struggled with me, they're doing good. And a lot of people that were doing good, they're struggling. So what do you do? Like, how do you balance things out?
Well, this is my opinion. This is what I think. I feel like when you're young, it's like, for example, you get married, you're young,
Yeah.
right? And they have everything going for themselves, but they never really lived. They're
Mhm.
25, getting a divorce. It's the same thing. You
Yeah.
think you're better than others because you're doing it a certain way, but in reality, you are not.
Yeah.
Because when you're older, you lose yourself.
That is true. So, negative. That's why during the divorce and separation, I went back to where I knew I felt I belonged. You know, I went back to the neighborhood, but not to be active.
No, not at all. It's just, it's who you are.
Yeah.
It makes you be around, because not everybody's the same way. Like,
Yeah.
like myself, like a lot of my friends, some still live there,
Mhm.
and they're doing great.
Yeah.
Obviously some we moved out, and like, I can't see myself living there anymore.
Right.
Like, no, that's not for me. Like, but with my friends,
Mhm.
of course. Do I see them every day? No. Do we have barbecues and do I invite? Yes.
Right. Yeah.
It's who we are, and we need that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about people, but I need it.
Yeah.
I need it. Like, if I need to be around my homeboys, like, babe, I'm going to bring one of the boys to the show.
Mhm.
Not here, but like when we're doing something. Oh, babe, I'm going to invite. Okay, because I need it.
Right.
It's for me. It makes
Right.
me feel like, okay, all right, I already have my little dose.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It feels good. It feels good.
Yeah.
To have some old school back in your life, you know?
Yeah.
But my kids checked me during that process. They were like, "Hey, what are you doing?"
Which is good too.
Which is really good. That shows how close you are to them. And they were like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "You know what? You're right. What am I doing?"
Mm-hmm.
So I slowed it down. But like I said, I went back and it wasn't negative. There was nothing. We weren't doing anything negative. It was just
hanging out, eating.
But you can get caught up.
No, you definitely could.
You can get caught up.
Yeah.
So they let me know real quick. I literally, a lot of times I spend hanging out with the kids.
Tell me, that's what life is about now.
Yeah.
So tell me, Angel, is there anything else that you want to share that you haven't shared before we close up?
I mentioned my brother earlier too. So this was a big part of me, like getting lost. So the person that I idolized, came home. When I came home, there was a point where he was still hanging out. He wasn't a gangbanger, but he was still hanging out. And it would have got me caught up. And we had that talk. And it led to him, having an addiction that was hidden, and years ago, I got that call, he was living in the street, and we went out to go find him, found him, took him home, showed him love. He was doing okay. Told him to wait for me to come back. We would put him in some kind of therapy. He agreed to it. I came back. My marriage was already falling apart. It was falling apart, and then I got the phone call while I was at work saying, they found my brother. They found him, they found him he overdosed, and it was like fentanyl and meth, and I just saw him, and it was a hard pill to swallow. I still don't feel like I've processed it fully because it comes out in spurts, especially when I'm by myself. And I don't know when I'll be ready, but there is an emptiness because this has been my guy, through the whole process, it's been my guy. And sometimes I'll reach out, I'll send a text just because I want to let him know everything new, but there's no response,
Oh, Angel.
So it's one of those, but I'm very close to Jesus. And it's not because of that. There was things that led up to it already. So I believe, and I'm like, I see the people that come on your show. There are things that a lot of us have in common, are starting to realize and give back and see that Jesus was there in the picture, or they're dealing with their traumas and mental. But this is a big platform where people with different nationalities they're relating. So I don't know if you've known, but it's you're like everybody's therapist without maybe intending to do that.
This is my therapy.
Yeah, it's my therapy hearing other people tell the same story. It's like, oh, they could relate. They articulated what I felt. Oh, you said it better. I don't know if I would have ever said it that way. So kudos. Like,
So for me, it's like shout out to everybody that's came here
mhm.
because this is my therapy. This
Yeah.
is what helps me. I guess I didn't know this was gonna happen. Like I didn't know when my husband said, "Hey, we're gonna start this and
Yeah.
we're gonna interview you and you're gonna say your story." Like
Mhm.
this is for me, I guess. I don't know what the heck, but
Yeah.
all I know is that I enjoy it and I like to talk about it and I like to talk about, I like to sit down and hear the people's stories and everybody likes it. Obviously there's those few that are just like, but it doesn't matter. God bless you guys.
Right.
And I just feel like it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why we started with that prayer, because the truth, how they say the truth will set you free.
I'm down with the prayers.
It's intentional, like
Yeah.
we wouldn't be here without having a past, so it's sort of like I don't want people to go through the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to make your own scars.
Yeah. That's right. Because if you don't have scars, then you don't learn and you feel entitled. And then when you're older and like back to what we said, you lose everything and you don't know how to pick yourself up.
Yeah. So I was told a while ago that what I'm doing has always been called like a living amends, right? So I feel like I've done my family wrong, and it's hard for me to say, it's hard for me to verbalize things as far as like saying sorry and stuff like that. I'll do it to my kids all day. I'll tell my kids how I feel, but to somebody else, like it's hard for me to be like, I was wrong. I'm sorry, So it's like the things that I've been doing in my life was for me to say I'm sorry to my parents and what I put them through, like I'm in my 40s and like my brother should be here. There's things that we're supposed to be bouncing off each other, that type of stuff. I mean, I don't know what the plan is, but I was able to give my parents their shout out too, because they're still around, and I was able to tell them during dinner, like, hey, I said it. I'm sorry. Like everything, I took accountability for everything that I did, not because I blame them for a lot of things. I acted this way because
we started that way, but that's not how I continued.
Yeah. Like I don't feel that in my heart, I feel like everything's fresh. It's a new beginning. It's free. Like I don't hold any grudges. I choose what I want to do, who I want around me. Like, I feel strong to do that. I don't need everybody's attention. I want my kids' attention. Like, whenever you text them and they don't text back, I'm like, really?
No, seriously.
Yeah.
I know my 22-year-old. I'm like, bro, see, I have like texts on texts on texts.
Yeah.
And he'll just be like, okay, like seriously?
Yeah.
And then he won't do something I asked him. He's like, well, you didn't tell me. Yeah. You saw it and you say K, but you didn't. He's like, I just said that just because you said you wanted me to hear a response. Right. Yeah. Right. That's how it is. Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for sharing, Angel.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You feel okay?
I feel. How much do I owe you? Like, you're my therapist now.
No. No, that's why I wouldn't be able to be a real one, because I won't be. I don't think I could like. I don't know. Like I always wanted to be like a counselor for teenagers, but then I'm like, whoa, no, I cannot deal with it because I want to like slap them.
Yeah. You know what else I noticed watching a lot of your guests? What they have in common too is like music. Like, but music is a form of expression and communication, right? Something that they lacked growing up. So it comes out this way and it's fire.
Oh, that makes sense.
Right?
For sure.
And that's the reason why we all want to give back and help other people. We want to be counselors. We want to work with the youth. Like that's what we a lot of us have that in common.
Yeah, I don't know if I could work with the youth or like do any of that. Like I just got patience for them fools.
Yeah.
I don't got patience for these young like know-it-alls. Like can't tell me nothing. Bro, get out of here with that shit. This is what's gonna happen. This is gonna happen.
Yeah.
And they're gonna hate me.
But you know what? There is somebody out there who wants to hear it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. But like to be an actual counselor, to go to work and do that, like, nah.
Oh, yeah.
This works for me.
This does work.
This works for me.
This really does.
Well, again, Angel, thank you for coming on Indicted TV. I genuinely appreciate it. And I thank you for sharing your story and feeling comfortable.
Yeah. Thank you.
No, you're welcome. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and follow us on Instagram.